Hey everyone, welcome back to Xfold Extras, and today I just want to talk about the difference between 8mm tape and mini DV. In my own personal experience, the opinions you will get objectively are very different to subjective experiences, so take what I say with a grain of salt because, of course, my experiences are not yours or anyone else's. So if you're looking into either of these, just take it into consideration, but this is not definitive or objective. So, first of all, I have been filming a lot more in 8mm tape format than mini DV. Now, mini DV is obviously more recent, but in my experience, I've had a lot more bad experiences with mini DV than I have with 8mm. And this is for multiple reasons. Now, I usually shoot in 8mm. I started off with Video 8 last year, and I'm currently shooting with High 8, and I've been using a Sony Handycam CCD TRV58 model camcorder. That's what I've been using for the past year. And when I was shooting with Mini DV, I was using a Canon Allura 85. Now, I know the reason I've had some bad experience with a mini DV was because the camcorder I used is damaged. Now, according to my mom, who previously owned the Canon Allura, it was dropped about 20 years ago, when my parents were on a trip to Paris, I believe, somewhere in Europe. But that camera was dropped at some point, and so it does have some errors. But let me get into the format itself. Now, there are quite a lot of differences between 8mm and mini DV. Now, I'm not going to be talking about digital 8 because I've not experienced digital 8, just video 8 and high 8, but they're pretty much one and the same except high 8, a bit higher quality. Now, objectively speaking, mini DV is the better format. You know, you get digital transfer via Firewire into a computer, which if you have an older PC or laptop, more often Macs had Firewire, so you get into the mid 2000 Macs with Firewire 400, and the newer ones is Firewire 800. So you can easily just transfer the video digitally through there if that's all you really need to do. Um, so it seems pretty easy there. However, mini DV does have a tendency to glitch a lot, and this isn't just like my own experience. It's also pretty common to see a lot of mini DV tapes doing that, and they always say, oh, clean the heads and stuff of the camcorder, and that works sometimes. But with this camcorder that I had specifically for mini DV, it would do it consistently, and no amount of cleaning would fix it. And luckily for me, I did have a secondary camcorder. It was a JVC from 2002, and the Canon was from around 2005 or 2006. Now, I primarily used the JVC for digitizing all the mini DV tapes that my mom had and the ones that I shot. And the reason for that is because digital did not work. Every time I try to convert digitally with the issues that the camcorder had, or even just the recording within the tape itself, it would actually cause the digital recording to stop during blue gaps. So if you leave a gap in the tape, it will actually just cut off that recording and start a whole new one. So it's the equivalent of just, having separate video files, which, in my opinion, I don't really want. So if you do want to shoot with tape and you want, that format that's kind of in between analog and modern fully digital tapes, then mini DV is perfect. Also, the tapes are a lot smaller, so the camcorders tend to be a lot smaller. Not as small as like the camcorder that I use for shooting YouTube videos, but it's significantly smaller than the one I currently use for just filming whatever happenings are going on. Now the thing is, the way I like to shoot video is I like to have it in one consistent thing. In the tape, if I'm going to be shooting on tape, I want it to be continuous. I like it to be continuous, and I like the date and time to be there, which is why digitizing mini DV tapes via Firewire also wouldn't work for me besides the technical issues that I was having. Um, and now that's probably the main reason why the thing is, it's not like that's my only option because the JVC did not have Firewire. It was a mini DV camcorder that did not have Firewire, which was very interesting to me. But basically, That meant that the only way you could digitize those tapes is by connecting it with an analog connector, and that made it so that any mini DV tape that I'd record would have the date and time just like I wanted. It would be continuous. Um, and plus, it did not have the same glitching that the Canon Allura had, which was a good thing, which meant that the issue wasn't with tape, it was with the camera itself, which sometimes the camera would mess up the tape a little bit, but that didn't happen too much to me. Um, Another thing is also tape capacity. Mini DV in standard play or short play, whatever SP stands for, um, only records 60 minutes of video, and in long play mode can go up to 120. Now that sounds good, but by default, Video 8 and High 8 video has 120 minutes on standard play and 240 on long play, which is significant improvement, but that also means that depending on the occasion, sometimes you would want shorter tapes, sometimes you'd want longer ones, and that also kind of incentivizes you to record more things on a single tape so that you're not just wasting half the tape on just one event. Um, when you could be like, which so it kind of gets you to film a little bit more. Um, so I guess that's the advantage of mini DV, a little bit shorter. So if you want to take shorter videos, then that's perfect. Longer videos, not so much. I mean, it's not like VHS where you can get like 8 hours of video on a single tape in like super long play mode or whatever, which is insane. Um, but right. So that's another big reason why I prefer Video 8 over Mini DV is the it has a different kind of vibe to it, which is a really stupid thing to look at, but aesthetically speaking, Digital 8, Mini DV was invented around 1995 and saw its main use throughout the 2000s. So when you think of Mini DV, you think of video from the mid 2000s or even the late 2000s, which is when it was in its peak popularity before smartphone video and 1080p video took over. Um, but then High 8 Video 8 came from the 80s, so you get more of a 90s, early 2000s kind of aesthetic to it, which I guess it also just depends on that, if which era you want. You want 90s or do you want 2000s? So there's also that. Um, while the camcorder that I use for Video 8 is, or 8mm is a lot bigger and has more of a presence, I definitely don't mind it over the mini DV camcorder given the issues I had with it. If I had a better mini DV camcorder, then I think I'd consider just mini DV then, yeah. That is if I could record analog with the date and time, being put on. I do remember another reason why I chose my Sony Handycam over the Canon Allura was because it showed the seconds, which is, again, my preferences are very specific. Um, and even the mini DV, the JVC that I used for digitizing tapes did not have seconds. Um, and of course, yeah, mini DV, sharper video, High 8, Video 8, not as much, but it's just kind of my own preference. And you can store more mini DV, I guess, if you want, because the tape is physically smaller. Apologies for that. My roommates are very loud. But anyway, I don't know if there's anything else I really could say. Um, I'll add one last thing. The battery life that I've had with my Handycam is a lot better than the Canon Allura. I bought new batteries for the Canon because the old ones were completely shot. I bought two ones from Castar, and I had to replace them pretty quickly. However, the one I have with the Sony is original. It's 23 years old, 23-year-old battery. Um, it's the lowest capacity, but it lasts a long time. Whenever I turn on the camcorder and I'm filming through the viewfinder, it always tells me I have about 3 hours of recording time, which is really freaking good, which means that I only have to really charge up the battery every couple of weeks to a month, depending on how often I use the camcorder. Sometimes I can have it at full charge, leave it alone for a couple months, come back, and it'll still have charge for recording something, which is perfect. And yeah, now that's really all I have to say about that. If I think of anything else, I'll probably put it in the description. Let me know what you guys think about your experiences with 8mm versus mini DV, which one you prefer. We're leaving HD and phone video out of this conversation because, of course, objectively speaking, that is much better. But we're talking on a subjective basis here on which you think is better. So, thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.